360 Pulse Immersive Experiences and Innovation is our program, and I'm your host, Jennifer Sertle. 360-degree imaging is part of everyday life. Circle Optics technology is being designed to accelerate the delivery of life-saving resources, ensure aerospace safety, and increase immersive experience participation. Our podcast, 360 Pulse, is dedicated to featuring immersive technology and the innovators that are working on these capabilities. If you've been following Circle Optics on the news recently, we were just given another $450,000 AFWorks award, which brings our DoD projects to over $8 million. And we thought it would be a great time for our listeners to hear from an expert that really works hard to support small businesses to work with the Department of Defense. So I'd really love you to meet Anna Vulaj Fitzsimmons. Anna brings 30 years of experience in government contracting and business development as the program director for the Monroe County Finger Lakes APEX Accelerator. Since 2015, she has facilitated, get this number, you guys, over $629 million in government contracts for businesses. Previously, she owned a communication and marketing business and served as director of communications for the Regional Chamber of Commerce, and has worked as an NPR affiliate in news reporting and producing. So, Anna, you have experience in what Scott and I are working on today. She's an active member of several prominent councils and boards, including the Department of Defense Northeast Regional Council and the National APEX Accelerator Alliance. She lives in Irondequoit, New York, with her husband and daughter. And one of the things that's so great about her being in upstate New York is she really experiences the balance of great, impactful business, as well as enjoying boating, fishing, and being part of the Finger Lakes. And all of you out there, we want you to move to Rochester because it is such a great place for business, for innovation, for partnerships, and also for fun. And boy, oh boy, is it a beautiful day. And we can't wait to get out on the boat. I bet. Do you have plans this weekend?
Yes, we do. I think we're going to be cleaning the boat this weekend, Jennifer. And thank you for that very kind introduction. As I like to say about our region, live, work, play. There's so much to do. That's what we're going to be doing. We'll be cleaning the boat and getting all our fishing gear lined up and ready to go.
Well, so before we jump into kind of your current life, I really want to learn a little bit more about your professional journey and maybe some significant pivots along the way. I mean, you're a communicator. You've done so many things. Let's kind of hear how you got to Apex.
Oh, absolutely. And so interestingly enough, and I'm not sure if we have any college students out there listening to this podcast. Hopefully we do. So I'm a huge advocate of co-op programs and internships because that's really where I started my journey. At St. John Fisher College, I ended up with two key back-to-back internships, one with the Chamber of Commerce. At the time, it was the Greater Rochester Metro Chamber of Commerce, and the other with WXXR, our local NPR affiliate. And I ended up with jobs at both places that were really very relevant. I ended up doing, I was a city beat reporter for WXXI. And it was great because, I lived in the city. I grew up in the city, lived there 20 years here in Rochester, and I knew it well. But this really was an opportunity to connect the dots with businesses and community. I remember when, was able to just get into stories that were impactful in terms of the economic development issues going on. And back then, you had Codex Xerox Bausch and Lomb, right? And, the landscape's changed a little, but what we have is a historical economy based on their legacies. And I think Circle Optics can be really a testament to that in terms of the optics industry and the things that the amazing innovations that you guys are driving right now. And we have so much of that left in our area. So anyway, after working at WXXI, I ended up doing public relations, or as I say, I went to the dark side, and did public relations for the chamber. And at the time, interestingly enough, the chamber, I worked for 3 registered lobbyists, so we weren't your typical, chamber. The Visitors Association was totally separate. And our focus was government affairs and networking with businesses and making sure that their voice was heard in Albany, in Washington, D.C. We had a lot of great councils that came together. Manufacturing has always been a key component of the focus that I've worked in, manufacturing and innovation. So I spent 10 years there in government affairs and worked my way up to the director of communications. And then my daughter came along, and I decided, you know what, daycare didn't work out. It was awful for any parent, young parent that's out there. You know what I'm talking about, right? And I ended up staying home with my daughter for a couple years, and still worked for the chamber. At the time, it was then the Rochester Business Alliance. Due to a merger, and was able just to do some work for them from home. And then I got a phone call from some old colleagues that ran what was then known as PTAC and now the APEX Accelerator. And they're like, hey, you want to come do some marketing for us? I'm like, of course I do. And on a part-time basis. And from there, it's kind of history. I've been with this organization now for 16 years total. I joined them as manager of business development, and eventually became their program director. And I love what I do. Working, it all does tie together. Understanding the community, understanding the business landscape, and now how do we translate that in not just government contracts of all kinds, and building people through the pipeline in support of the defense and government industrial base. But how do we translate that? And so what I do a lot of is, how do I translate that to folks outside of our state, folks outside of our region and beyond, so they can see, truly the accomplishments of what is happening here in our area, in Buffalo, in Rochester, in Syracuse, and how we've all come together and are really creating some amazing, amazing technology and innovation, along with our university systems, RIT, University of Rochester, and some great things going on at MCC and the rest of our universities. So that's kind of how it all streamed along, Jennifer, if that makes sense.
I think what I'm hearing for our listeners, and I love that, is that we do work with a lot of students, and many people even choose U of R or RIT because of their co-op experiences. And it sounds like you're such a clear communicator in the first place, but the idea that you were actually pitching stories for Rochester in general, and now you get to actually have this special focus with the Department of Defense, and your ability to frame and translate value propositions is something that we experience as you're working with Circle Optics. We deeply, deeply appreciate. And boy, oh boy, $629 million worth of contract secured is, you got bragging rights. I know that you love a lot of the companies in town, and it's hard to kind of single anything out, but are you able to share a couple of success stories that would really resonate for our listeners?
Well, of course, everybody's heard Circle Optics success story, right? Which is fantastic. And we're really excited to say that, and see the Air Force's committed and expanded interest in coming to see what it is that you're really doing. You guys have been up to Fort Drum, right? Which is really exciting. But, looking at our universities and the technology that's coming out of there is amazing. One in particular that I'd love to highlight is PRISM. And they're also an Air Force super sitter success story. And what they're doing is has to do with 3D printing. I can't get into too much deep detail, but those are some of the areas, that we're looking at. And in fact, the Department of Defense has a list of key technology areas that they are focusing on. And, we could say we've got a lot of successes in all those particular areas. So hypersonics is one. And look at the expansion right now and what's going on at the Laboratory for Laser Energetics at the University of Rochester. And, we anticipate a lot of technology coming out of there. But we've also had folks that work on drones with success in the super sitter marketplace. So there's a lot of great areas, and it's funny because a lot of times people don't want to talk about it. So I kind of want to highlight those key technology areas so you're aware of them. And frankly, you know, I think you'd be amazed. You know, there's advanced computing. We've got a lot of that going on. Advanced engineering materials, like the Remade Institute over at the Golisano Center. They work, and what's going on at Laboratory Laser Energetics. And the reason I mentioned those two, and I know you want to highlight small business success stories, but they're the ones, boots on the ground, folks like NextCore that are working directly with those small businesses in terms of commercializing their technology, because that's the hardest part, right? You've got these great ideas. How do you commercialize it? And how do you get the funding for that? And some of the other areas, the gas turbine and engine technologies, of course, advanced manufacturing, networked sensing and signature management, artificial intelligence, AI, without a doubt, right? Autonomous systems and robotics, biotech, directed energy, which sounds really futuristic, right? But it's not. Human machine interfaces and quantum. Quantum is huge. We've got Air Force Research Labs right out in Rome, New York. They're all highly interested in small businesses that have and are building technologies in these specific categories. So these are the folks that are really getting high attention right now, because these are the key technology areas that have been highlighted by the administration as a current need. I mean, we all know what's going on in current events. Things could be crazy, but we need to advance, and they see small business in particular as that opportunity for quick advancement. You're not a large business. You're somebody that's more nimble, that can move faster, is not bogged down by all kinds of internal structure. So, and by the way, we don't only work with small business, we work with all businesses. We assist large primes, help them connect with those large businesses as well as the agencies. So, there's a lot of excitement in the cyber community right now, locally in those areas.
Well, it's so clear that you're a champion, because almost every answer was a partnership. You talked about so many different partnerships, which are really lovely. What are, if you think of people that have not yet tapped into some of the accelerator resources and APEX resources, what are the key challenges that you see for the businesses that are trying to secure? Maybe if the top 3 issues that you see smaller business, or not, again, I like your commitment. It isn't about small business, but given your experience and all these different contracts that you've, seen, helped, supported, what are maybe the top 3 challenges that you see businesses struggle with?
Typically, it's infrastructure and finances, organization. And what do I mean by that? The people capital, because somebody will start with this really great idea as an innovator, but then, they know how to maybe create that technology, but maybe not so much how to run the other parts of the business. So sometimes that's an issue, but it's typically one overcome. And then the hurdle in understanding that doing business with the government is the long game. That's what I always like to say, it's the long game. So gauging those expectations and understanding that it truly is a commitment. But once you do get your foot in the door and they like what they see you doing, it's like a crawl, walk, run analogy. Okay. So, they're going to give you a little bit of a contract or a grant. And if they like what they see, they're going to give you, they're going to have you crawling. They're going to give you a little more, have you walking. But boy, when they want to run, you have to be ready to run with them. And that goes to then manufacturing or, if it's a service, capacity to be able to deliver upon the quantities that they're looking for. So you want to make sure you are gauging expectations. You want to make sure that you're growing at an appropriate rate to be able to not overcommit, right? And overpromise in what you can deliver, and then be ready to deliver when you're ready and you believe you're ready to deliver. Because performance and delivery is what it's all about in the game of government contracting.
Wow. So performance and delivery, and I'd say forecasting too, right? Because the ability to kind of reverse engineer. One of the insights that Anna had given Circle Optics was the idea that we make camera systems that are usually in other systems. So we're part of a larger product. We're not just the product. And one of the things that we learned was the idea of being mission ready, that in order for Circle Optics to be successful with our technology, we need to make sure that we've already identified the AI partner and all of that. And so can you talk a little bit more about how companies can be prepared for mission-ready solutions and the importance of that, please?
Sure. So that's a lot of the work that we do one-on-one with our folks, and is understanding who that customer is, and getting you to really do your homework and seeing what is their mission. You mentioned mission, and mission is very important, and understanding what they've purchased in the past, understanding what those forecasted opportunities are. Because typically, if you read about something in the newspaper that you think it's coming down the pike, you're 2 years too late. You are 2 years too late to get involved in that particular contract or activity, whether you think you're going to be a prime contractor or a subcontractor. So mapping out that marketing strategy to understand who those buyers are and developing that relationship at your pace and early on is really important. Okay. And understanding those purchasing cycles as well.
Okay. I mean, this is all like it is. So much research is required, and then maintaining those relationships as well. What about maintaining?
We'll do the research with you, you know.
That's really nice to know. That's really, really helpful. Just before I move on to my next question, though, in addition to kind of the contract, what other ways can we strengthen our relationships with the DoD, and how do businesses because sometimes I feel like sometimes you got to be there to hear the opportunities, and you have to be likable and all that other stuff. So what are some of the things that you've taught businesses to create strength in those relationships?
Sure. So if I could just start at, one key point right now, the APEX Accelerators program, had been called the PTAC, and in 2022, someone got wise and said, hey, let's elevate this program to the Pentagon level, have it managed there. And what they were able to do, because of their position, is say, okay, not only are we rebranding you, you're the front door for the Department of Defense Small Business Office, okay? And we want you guys to perform certain tasks. And one of those important tasks is creating a database, right? So, and that database is, and I'm one of 97 centers across the country. So this is a nationwide effort. Okay. So when the DoD has a need, right, we need to know who's got what NAICS code. I mean, yeah, I can register in System for Award Management and have that in, but register, no matter where you're located, register with your local APEX Accelerator, get into their database. Get those right codes in there. They'll work with you on getting them. It sounds really simplistic, but it's not. It's important that we have this master database available in a DoD component that's then able to do that outreach when they send us a notice and say, hey, we need this or we need that. We have large prime contractors that do the exact same thing. So I think, consider that an important connection. That's step one. Okay. Step two is us helping you identify who that target market is for you, and what's that vendorization process you need to go through to make sure that you're in their database. Because just because you've done your mandatory registrations and perhaps some certifications that may help assist you, it doesn't mean you're going to be found. It's always about the marketing. The consistent marketing, the right marketing, the right communication, understanding that right frequency, attending those government to business meet and greets that are appropriate and fit into your scope of work and what you're doing. So, the more face time, the better, but being prepared is critically important. Don't just reach out without being prepared. Consider it, first impression, and that's what it really is.
So a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of business owners are so busy on the business that they're not thinking as holistically as you're thinking. And the idea that you can't do it alone, right? You know the codes. We don't know the codes. You help people build, it's just kind of that. If you're listening here, you can't do it alone. You have to have partners, and you have to have the beat on the street. And it's a long, I like the fact, and I want to reiterate the point that you said, it's really kind of a long 2, maybe 3-year strategy, right? 2 18-month cycles in order to make these things work,
That's absolutely right. And these businesses that don't have the capacity internally to do this, that's what we're here for. There's no fee to use our services. and we help them build that strategy. And until our job, and I'm going to use a fishing analogy, is to teach you how to fish. Okay. Right? That is our job, right? We want to get you to the point where, okay, I get it. And then when you have other issues, so we'll meet on a more regular basis. When you start to feel a little more comfortable, we'll set you up with the bid match service, so you're not going down the rabbit hole searching for bids. So the goal is to really lift up small business and get them in the industrial base.
And you had mentioned a meet and greet. I know we scheduled this program because it's before a meet and greet. Do you want to say anything about the event that's coming up? Is this a good time for that?
I would love to. Thank you. Okay, yes. Cool. A shameless plug for my event, but it is.
I invited it.
So on September 16th, we, along with Congressman Monroe and County Executive Bello, are hosting our 4th annual Defense and Government Contracting Forum and Matchmaker. And just so you know, anybody can attend this, doesn't matter where you're from. Our territory is actually 11 counties, from Rochester through to Syracuse, south, and the whole Finger Lakes region as well. And it's a great opportunity to meet with buyers. But in addition to that, we have some great speakers coming in that will be looking and focusing on small businesses from the DoD. We've invited Director Farouk Mita, who's the director for Department of Defense Office of Small Business Programs. We have a contingent from Air Force that will be in attendance, headquartered out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Director Jeff Malott is bringing in not only Air Force, but we'll say DAF. So when they say DAF, here's a pointer. They mean Department of Air Force, and that includes Space Force. So we'll have offices from around the country that are very interested in what's going on in Rochester and coming to see more. So, think of these as opportunities to network, okay? To just say hi, to say, I'd like to follow up with you. How can I do that if you can't get a one-on-one? But fortunately, we also do the meet and greets in the afternoon. And if you can't get a meet and greet, it's okay. We will make sure to facilitate that as appropriate at a future date. But being there is really important. The networking is what matters as an all business. Great. So yes, September 16th, mark your calendar.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And we will be repurposing this program on a regular basis. And I think that a call out again is that there are 98 of these communities across the United States. And I'm learning new things today. I did not realize that was associated with the Pentagon and how eagerly the Department of Defense wants to help support innovation. And I can just tell you from our experience with Circle Optics is that they do not want part of the innovation. Like, it isn't like some people are afraid to partner for fear of losing equity or losing access to the quality, their business. You could probably say it much more elegantly, Anna. Can you I
get exactly what you're saying.
Well, say it the right way.
If you lose the equity in your business, the DoD is not going to take that from you.
Right.
If you were to get an investor, you're going to lose equity in your business. If you're going to go after small business innovation research and tech transfer, you are not going to dilute the ownership of your business. And there's other great programs designed to assist with that as well.
I think that's such an important point from the idea that, of course, the United States wants to have, we're competing on innovation across the world, right? And the more the government can actually accelerate our ideas and getting our ideas into ecosystems, the whole GDP of every region, not just Rochester, but all those 98 regions grows. So I don't think everybody knows that. Because I certainly didn't until I started working with Circle Optics, which I think is really, really important. I know you love to boat and you love to do things. Summer reading is something we really love. Is there a book or a movie that really inspired you that we could leave with our audience?
Okay, so probably going to think I'm weird here. So, one of my majors was in political science. I love political theory. Some of those origins of political thought. So like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Rousseau, all those great folks. And then the news, I read the news too much still, because I grew up with it, as part of my life, and then as part of my career. But I do love that. And as far and Stephen King.
Okay.
So there's a dichotomy within me, I like politics and then and Stephen King movies are great. They're true to life. And I because I probably grew up with three older brothers, I do love war movies. I just kind of grew up watching those movies, and Fury's a real good one that's out there. If you haven't seen that, very intense. But I try to keep my reading, as my father always taught me. If you really want to know something, go to the source. Find the source.
Find the source. Wow, that's great.
Who's the original author, and go to that.
And that's why some people still, like, I believe it or not, I'm still on Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. And what I love is that I will order a book from someone and start following them, and they'll follow me. Like, I have a whole author segment into it. Like, people don't realize how easy it is to connect with sources today. And I think that's super, super fun.
It's super cool. If I were to write a book, it would be a children's book.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Madeline L'Engle, when she wrote this really wonderful book about The Wrinkle in Time, which is really about quantum physics,
awesome.
She wrote it for the children because she said the adults won't understand. So I can't wait for you to read.
It's going to be way over our head.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Well, so I want to just reiterate for all of you listeners that the APEX Accelerator wants you to succeed, and there's a community. It's almost like this whole infrastructure of people. Now, we're really lucky because we know Anna in our region is really dedicated, and you can join us and follow us, and and I will definitely have links in.
I want to say that our program receives strong congressional support, and from both sides of the aisle. It's a very popular program. Thanks to the support of Monroe, thanks to the support of Schumer, thanks to the support of Gillibrand, and the Republicans throughout the state. This isn't just a Democrat-Republican thing. It has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the good of the industrial base and the security of our country. So
I love that. And since you're thanking people, I want to thank our producer, Scott Fitzgerald, who's here. I'd also like to thank the Institute of Optics, Genius New York, Luminate, awesome. Next Core, AFWorks, Cider Technologies, Archangel Imaging, and AUVSI. And our hope is that you'll continue to connect with us, subscribe to our program, find us on Twitter, LinkedIn. We're very interested in how immersive technology positively impacts safety and human connection. And we're also committed to ensure that you can stay in business and get the funding with the DoD or different places that you need. And can't wait. If you want to reach me at any time, I'm Jennifer at circleoptics.com. Thank you for joining us.